but what I really care about is making a difference. Visit pauldavis.com/careers.
Familiar faces in new places. Let's go! And SiriusXM NFL Radio brings you an insider's perspective from OTAs and minicamps.
They got their quarterback. They see the growth and development. To me, this is the best of both worlds.
Hear how your team is shaping up as they prepare for the 2023 season.
No reason to not be sharp. Let's be good from the jump.
There's a story for every team on SiriusXM NFL Radio Channel 88 and on the SXM app.
Guys, it's Face Off Live on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, Channel 91 from Florida Live Arena in Sunrise, Florida. I'm Dennis Bernstein alongside David Pagnotta and Irv Gaffar. Top of the hour, Channel 91 Sports USA, John Olives, Brian Boucher, Billy Jaffe. Sirius 137, XM 219, Dan Duva and Gary Lawless. Panthers call Sirius 138, XM 220 with Doug Plagins and Billy Lindsay. You know, Dave, when we're in Vegas, our go-to joint is Park MGM. So tell the listeners a little bit about Park MGM when they visit Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. It's located right across the street from T-Mobile Arena, and Park MGM is the best pre- and post-game spot ahead of all the Vegas hockey action. This smoke-free property has all the amenities, Dennis, to make this stay for a game day perfect, with Nomad Bar being the top local choice. Visit parkmgm.com and save up to 20% off rates today.
The ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facility safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Protect your engine against sludge and wear with a synthetic oil change. O'Reilly Auto Parts has 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $35.95. Plus, get 2 times O Rewards points. Our professional parts people can recommend the supplies you need, including a filter, funnel, shop towels, drain pan, and more. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Want to know the best part? It was free? Nope. The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks? Nope. It's the ding. Oh yeah, love the ding, right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
Get started at Angie.com. The Florida Panthers have said all the right things. They're coming home. They want to hold serve. Teams that lose the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup Finals on the road lose the series 86% of the time. Brian Boucher, as we start tonight's keys, what does Florida have to do to try to avoid those long odds?
Well, if you want to get this home crowd into the game, I think the forecheck needs to be more impactful. That to me, is an area of the game where you don't have to go for the big hit, but you got to get in there with a purpose, and the purpose is to possess the puck. You possess the puck in the offensive zone. I think it gets the crowd into it. It puts Vegas on their heels. That, to me, is a key for Florida here tonight. For Vegas, on the flip side, they got to continue to get to the interior. They found a way to get inside ice in the offensive zone. They found ways to get in front of Sergei Bobrovsky on a consistent basis in this series, and it's caused problems for the Florida defense and the Florida goaltender. If they continue to do that, I'm not so sure that Florida has an answer for the guys that go inside and get to the front of the net.
Comedy Central Radio, Laugh USA,
Raw Dog Comedy,
more exclusive comedy.
Netflix is a joke.
What are you looking for, right? 10 months left. Hey, people. Being funny on the radio.
More classic comedy.
Comedy greats.
More down-home comedy.
Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup.
And more stuff you can't hear anywhere else.
She's so funny on Sirius XM. Comedy by women.
To hear the Sirius XM comedy channels, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800. Or go to SiriusXM.com/go to sign up quickly. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. and hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
The Stanley Cup Final is on SiriusXM. Who will bring home their first cup? The Florida Panthers return to the final after more than a quarter century. The Vegas Golden Knights return for the second time in their 6-year history. Hear the home and away broadcast of every game on SiriusXM and the SXM NHL Network Radio, Channel 91.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show, my name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, in that Bentley I was driving today. What a beautiful car it is on a beautiful June the 8th in 2023. We're almost to 2024. That means I could do my math. I can do math. And Mike Pence said he's going to run for president, but he doesn't know if he's going to pardon the guy who tried to overthrow the election. Today's show is sponsored by the Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, best standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton of Big C Sports sent you. It's well a driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. You follow Big C Sports on 27 podcast application, and you can pardon me, beg your pardon, on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, and may as well add Saudi Arabia. I'm going to see if they can sponsor me also. All I need is $100 million. They gave some golfers that will never ever win a Masters $200 million. If that makes sense to you. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Podyssey, The Good Pods, Podcast Republic, and the only one that's starting to scare me again is the one with the robots. Dim robots and dim their heels, all Phase.ai. Give podcasters some praise. Everybody's trying to do podcasts now. I think Big C Sports Podcast is on one podcast than any podcaster in the universe. What a day. Man, that Bentley GT is a beautiful, beautiful ride. Makes you feel naked when you're not driving. What a car. Oh, Fred Leavenworth, really do appreciate that. And then I want to appreciate European Motors too, if that makes sense to you, over in San Francisco. I want to say you can also follow the Big C Sports streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV. You might be sitting there looking at a still picture. I love paying homage to our veterans. The Crisis Hotline, they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anybody going through issues, oftentimes they feel like they go through it on their own. If you know any veterans, give out this number. They will stand on their head to get you some help. And it's 800-273-8255. I'm going to say it like a football player now. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give them some praise. Give them praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. We all need somebody to lean on. I know I do. I also want to say to you sports bettors, you know, when you meet someone and they say, I come with substantial risk. Or let me put it this way. if you ever work for a guy that tries to start an insurrection and then he starts it to overturn the election, and you work for that guy, if you ever get that guy's job and you say you're a man of law, and someone asks you directly, will you pardon the person that tried to overthrow the country? And the person says, well, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals. That's a yes or no answer. How about this? Will you pardon a guy that robs a bank on Wall Street? Well, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals. Well, how about this? Would you pardon a guy that said he's going to get on the BART train without paying for it? Well, I don't want to talk about hypotheticals. Well, what do you want to talk about? Yeah, Mike Pence is funny. He says he's so good on law, and he wants to honor the law. And the only thing that made him not the only thing that really made him certify the election, I think, was when he heard his friends mob calling hang Mike Pence. They were chanting hang Mike Pence, and he still said he doesn't know if he would pardon that guy. He didn't like to talk politics. I don't like to talk politics, and I don't like to talk hypotheticals. Just give me your vote. How about if you vote for reparations? I'm going to ask I think that should be asked of every president. Would you support reparations to Holocaust survivors? They all go to say, of course we do. Say, okay. Do you support reparations to descendants of chattel slavery called Black Americans? Well, I don't want to talk politics right now. I don't want to talk hypotheticals. Senator Mitch McConnell said, I don't believe we should have to pay reparations for something that happened over 150 years ago. I don't want to talk politics. Because his great-granddaddy owned slaves. Couldn't keep those men out the barn, could they? Oh, Lord have mercy. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big Z Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, when God said, let there be reparations. And he said, let there be light. Open your cell phone or electronic device and say play Big Z's podcast. You'll see the show come up all over the world. All over the world. That's amazing to me. It really is. I don't have a private jet. But driving that Bentley feels like a private jet, if that makes sense to you. Sports betting, be careful. Last night, I know Miami was only a 2.5-point underdog, but I thought they were trying to slip a banana in the tailpipe when I thought that Denver would win that game. And I've been pretty accurate charting these games. I've been charting games for a long time, and the fact that they won by double digits. And if you can't realize when you're shooting from outside, your shot doesn't go, you should go to the inside, drop the basket. If you don't believe that, then you want to crown them. May as well crown them right now. I still got Denver winning in 4 games to 2. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. But 800 Gambler, if you like giving your money to somebody that you don't know. In fact, I just saw it. I saw it on ABC News just after the game yesterday, and they were talking about. Again, I've been so tempted. I've been so tempted, and people might laugh at me when I say this. I've been so tempted to listen to these people that text me almost every day, or they give me a DM, and they ask me if I want to get started in cryptocurrency, that they will manage the account. They just want to keep 10%. All I have to do is put up the first $500, and they'll turn that $500 into $3,500, allegedly, in about 7 days. And when I'm tempted to do it, if I could just find enough aluminum cans to turn in to get $500, then I might do it. I'm going to get a sign that says, need $500 so I can invest in crypto and stand at the intersection and see if people do it. But I can't confirm or deny if I would pardon a man who tried to cause an insurrection against the United States of America because I don't want to talk politics. What is Mike Pence talking about? I don't want to talk hypotheticals. He's a smooth operator, the great Sade. I really do say be careful when you deal with them there gamblers and them there hills. You know, my show is always somewhat different like a lot of people say that, but I have no producer. And some people told me that is truly obvious, Curry. My show is fresh daily, like the collard greens that I was sucking on last night. And I also was sucking on some chicken. Tonight, I'm going to suck on some fish. I'm going to suck on some fish like you've never seen anyone suck on fish. Oh, my God. The other day, today's Thursday, I think it was Wednesday, or it could have been Tuesday, probably Tuesday. I had a meeting coming up, and so I pulled up into the parking lot, and before I went inside, I parked between two pickup trucks, and one guy got out. He had a couple of dogs, like some pit bulls, in his truck, and then he goes over to the other guy and says, "You mind if I pet your dog?" And you know, dog lovers love dogs. That pit bull was his head was bigger than the guy that wanted to pet him. He goes and pets the pit bull on the head, and then he starts licking him. I mean, I thought he was making up. I mean, they were tongue kissing. It was a man and a dog. That dog was all up in his mouth. I wasn't jealous or anything, but the man and the dog was getting some affection, and they just met each other. Kind of like what people do on those internet dating sites. They just met, and they were already licking and licking and licking. I said, I've had dogs all my life, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but I've never made out with my dog. Maybe that makes me weird. But who makes out with a dog? I mean, they were tongue licking. Lickety split. Now, watch some people say, "Oh, you don't like animals." No, I've never had a dog lick my tongue. And they were doing it for about I thought it was a good minute. I kind of felt uncomfortable. But they said, if you got the problem, don't look. Anyway, people do what they want to do, but kissing your dog is one thing, but kissing another man's dog, there was a commercial where a guy was trying to date a girl. Obviously, he just picked her up from the internet, and she looked in his refrigerator as he asked her to get something out of the refrigerator. They were cooking a meal, and she said, "What is this?" And he said, "Oh, that's my meal for my dog." And she says, "You leave dog food in the refrigerator?" And he said, "It's not dog food, it's a meal." She said, "It's a dog food." And so they showed her being out of the front door, and he closed the door in her face. And he told his dog, I knew you were right about her all along. Anyway, I think it's the weirdest thing I ever saw. A man, he was tongue kissing another dog, a pit bull. And anyway, he did that for about a minute, and he talked about how much he loved dogs, obviously. He walked back to his own dogs. The dogs were a little bit jealous. People do what they want to do, dog lovers. Anyway, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all of the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I can. And then I'm telling you, it's amazing. The commercials are done. The stats provided. The storytelling. The play-by-play. What I heard last night, I didn't hear enough, is Jimmy Buckets for 3. But Miami was afraid last night. They just played like they had been running on the sand down in South Florida. Denver came in like they were hungry, like a pack of dogs, if that makes sense to you. At the same time, I upload the show. It goes out to 27 multiple podcast platforms out of New York City. There's so much smoke coming from Canada and New York City, but Sean Hannity said it's a political stunt. Sean Hannity said all that smoke on the East Coast is a political stunt by the Democrats to get people to wear a mask. Oh, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. I never missed a show since creating Big City Sports with the crew back at Salem Media, and I really do appreciate that. I love so much about being able to do a sports show, and obviously the fires in New York City, it's not New York City, they're up in Nova Scotia, and then I hear they're going down as far south as the Carolinas, of course, up in Virginia and Washington, D.C., and it's over in Maryland, Massachusetts, over the whole Northeast, and then going down to the south. Hopefully we can get some rain up in Canada, Nova Scotia, to help put out the fires. I remember California had fires like that back, I want to say it was just about 2 years ago over in the Napa fires. And then they had fires up at Lake Tahoe. The fire, it's like California was burning. Now we have a lot of water. It even rained this week. And the weather's perfect, about 75 to 80 degrees, depending on where you are. Still have some showers up in the Sierra Nevadas, up in the Lake Tahoe region. But either way, really hope they can what about cloud seeding, where they can seed the clouds and make it rain? I'm sure that technology works anywhere in the world. It's a shame to have so much being lost by what's called a natural disaster. Don't know how it got started, but hopefully they'll have some help in putting that out. I want to thank the Associated Press. Janie Harr did an article on Big C Sports and reparations on March 29th, 2023. She also, and I believe in reparations because I believe in what President Abraham Lincoln did, and we should honor that. I wonder if they would have asked Mike Pence, you're through your nomination for presidency of the United States. Do you believe in honoring the great President Abraham Lincoln when he signed the law that reparations for descendants of chattel slavery, meaning African Americans? Mike Pence would have said, well, I don't want to talk hypotheticals. No, it was really signing the law, Mr. Pence. Well, I don't want to talk politics. Lord have mercy. But she also, Janie Harr, mentioned Vice President Kamala Harris, President Joe Biden, California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's having a war of words with Florida Governor DeSantis, which is really just like, I don't know who would vote for DeSantis. He's such a bigot. He wants to cancel black history, calls it cancel culture for people to learn that all life came from Africa. He wants to cancel out anything that leads back to black history and civilization. Like Dr. Lee King, Gregor Mendel, he wants to do away with their works. What a shame. And obviously he doesn't want women to have a right over their anatomy. And then also mentioned in the article was California Senator Stephen Bradford and also California Reparations Chair member Camilla Moore. And I really do appreciate the article. It was March 29, 2023. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports. I asked everybody that I knew, Mike Pence, do you happen to agree with the Survivors Today Act of 2017, where the Justice for Uncompensated Survivors Today Act of 2017 is United States legislation that requires the State Department to report to Congress on steps that 47 countries in Europe have taken to compensate Holocaust survivors and their heirs for assets that were seized by Nazi Germany and post-war communist governments. And I'm sure Mike Pence will say, sure. Mike Pence, do you believe that the United States legislation should also require that all descendants of chattel slavery receive reparations known as black Americans in the United States? And he would say, well, I'm not here to talk hypotheticals. What a word. He's not here to talk hypotheticals. Life is so funny. Well, as far as hypotheticals, I like talking hypotheticals, but it's not really hypotheticals if it's real. So I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy, unlike anybody else in the universe. Before I get in there, I want to talk a little bit about the Oakland A's too coming up, because they were asking some of the good old boys from the Oakland A's down in Las Vegas, and they want the state legislators to give them like $36 million a year, I guess up to about 30 years. And then the state came back, the spokesperson said they can't fund the schools in many parts of Las Vegas because some of the parents gamble too much and they can't pay their taxes. And the lady said they're having problems with homelessness in Las Vegas and the surrounding areas. And the spokeswoman said they have a healthcare issue and have a hard time feeding people and also making sure that people are sheltered. And are you suggesting that we should take that money and give it to billionaires so people can watch them play baseball? And the Oakland A's representative said, yeah. I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy on my beautiful mother's side. My great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. I really do appreciate her. And then my beautiful great-grandfather called him Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player. He was known for going runners on first and third. The counts full the pitch. Curveball, swung on in deep. Right field, back to the wall. Home run. He would say hello to my interface. He loved saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep. What is it about the long ball that women love? And what is it about hitting deep that men love? Whatever it is good to have love. Really do appreciate him. The real MacGyver can fix anything with his hands. Planes, trains, and automobiles. All he needed was duct tape and a water bottle. Very, very bright man. And then my beautiful grandmother, Mud Diaz. She was a seer, beautiful, loving, kind, industrious woman. She could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. Really do appreciate her. And she still helps me to this day. And then my beautiful grandfather Hezekiah, another one of a person, a seer, can oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. I was driving through downtown, I want to say just over the weekend, and an 18-wheel truck came over into my lane, and I could feel it before I could see it. I'm always looking left, right, in the rearview mirror and forward. I could feel it before I could see it. It's like I had an intuition. And so as I looked over, it felt like he was about to run me over because he was about 3 feet in my lane. And so I knew I was observating, that's a new word. I was observing the lane that I was in. So I made sure I had room to scoot over to the right. And that good old boy, he was swerving into my lane. But I felt him before I saw him. That's amazing how that works. And then so I was able to pay attention, and he went right by me, but he had to correct himself and get back in his own lane. I call that intuition, and that's something. I thank God for that intuition. It was kind of a scary moment, but I wasn't panicked. It just felt like everything had slowed down. So I thank God for that protection, as I always pray Isaiah 54:17. And that was taught to me by my beautiful mother. I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys a Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama praise. Come on, she started a Head Start program, a food program, and then coaching all boys Little League baseball team in an all-men's league. All the other coaches look like Senator Mitch McConnell. I don't believe we should pay our reparations for something that happened over 150 years ago, even though my great-great-granddaddies, they were having their way with those beautiful black Nubian women. But it took all the land, all that free labor, all that blood money in the bank, bequeathed on to future generations, and he has no problem with unclean hands and all that blood money in his bank account and the property they still own from free labor. I don't believe we should pay reparations for something that people stole over 150 years ago. Not even honoring President Abraham Lincoln. It's amazing how God lets some people come to power. It doesn't make any sense, God. It sure doesn't, Lord. It does not. My beautiful mother, the best person I ever met in my life, always saying rise and shine. In fact, at the church where we spoke about the good book, everybody loved Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at a restaurant, everybody wanted Mrs. Curry's cooking. And at home, everybody wanted Mama's cooking. She say, son, how many plates have you had? I said, curry for 3. I was always trying to get thirds. Like, I'm going to have at least 3 fish tonight. I'm going to get them, and I'm going to eat them. And they taste good with the hot sauce. I know, baked fish is better, but there's something about some deep fried with a little hot sauce on it and some cornbread and some collard greens. I'm not bragging, but I know how to cook that stuff. And it tastes so good. But I'm walking 3 miles a day, so that's good. I mean, everything's good. It's all getting tighter, if that makes sense to you. Love some catfish, and I really thank them for their sacrifice. If that makes sense to you. And I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then my beautiful grandfather on my father's side, called him Albert Curry. He was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland. He built the 3rd church in Central California. And he owned 2 gas stations, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. And in fact, I was talking to a real estate agent today that has an office on Bancroft. But my grandfather also owned 40 acres of land. Like the Emancipation Proclamation, where President Abraham Lincoln, America's greatest president, he was working with Frederick Douglass, who was going to be the president of Freedmen's Bank, on crafting the Emancipation Proclamation, where every free black person was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. And unfortunately, when President Lincoln was assassinated, one of America's worst presidents, President Andrew Johnson, came along and he vetoed the bill. And he gave the land back to the insurrectionists because he was a racist. And he also owned slaves. And what do you think he was doing with those beautiful Nubian women when his wife was asleep? Not only stealing land, he was stealing something else. Isn't that something? And that's why we deserve reparations. That was stolen. That money and land was stolen. That was for black Americans. And he gave it to the insurrectionists. He gave it to the people that were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." The insurrectionists. The Southern Confederates. Now they call them Proud Boys. It's a shame because it should be honored. When you steal something, when you know who stole it, you're supposed to give it back. Like the people that charged the nation's capital in the insurrection, those people are paying the penalty for it. Not like Senator, Senior Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He still has his blood money. He still has the land. They haven't made him give it back. Oh, we don't want to pay reparations for something that happened 50 years ago. But the people who stormed the nation's capital, they got to pay. Isn't that hypocritical? Really do appreciate my grandfather and my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland and building the 3rd church in Central California. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. In fact, I was speeding through the hallway like I was speeding that Bentley today. And she touched me on my forehead. She said, "You seem like you're in a hurry. What are you trying to do? Get more cookies?" I said, cookies and baby squat to what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get my reparations. And a couple of cookies won't hurt either. Really do appreciate her. And it's just amazing how you have a good grandparent always doing what they can to keep the family together. Really do appreciate her. Then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we could all stay safe at night. My dad's the first one to tell me about the SR-71, the Blackbird. It could fly from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. in 1 hour and 8 minutes. They need those jet engines on a 747. Could you imagine how easy it would be to get from the East Coast to the West Coast and back if you can get there in an hour and 8 minutes, maybe even if it took 2 hours. The technology is there that is sitting in museums. I really do appreciate my dad. He always stand developing mind to his highest extent. In fact, my father's roommate in the Air Force was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, that was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. And I love the part in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, where Denzel, when they said, "How are you, young man? What's your name?" he said, "King Kong, ain't got nothing on me." What if he would have said his opening to Malcolm X when he was coming to dinner? Maybe they should do that in Malcolm X Part 2. When the opening to Malcolm X could be said when he's saying, "Guess who's coming to dinner? Nice to meet you," all that jazz. All's fair and level. Where I really do appreciate my father. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader, always saying go forward. Like Dr. King was saying, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward, either through fear or through faith. Choose a side. Choose a side, fear or faith. Which one are you going to suit up for? The fear side of life or the faith side of life? Without faith, there'd be no Big C Sports Podcast. I've met so much opposition over the years, and I'm meeting opposition even as things have gotten so much better with the show and the platform. There's still opposition. So I try to weed people out and let the good Lord in. And that's why I want to say give the good Lord some praise. God has opened a lot of doors that I couldn't have opened for myself. Also going to be speaking with the National Black Wall Street Project that is nationwide, and being invited to speak with that with Big C Sports is taking place on the summit's taking place on June 17th, Saturday 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and beyond. And that's at First AME Church, Los Angeles, California, at 2270 South Harbor Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. The National Black Wall Street Project is the Beverly Hills NAACP Los Angeles chapters, a National Black Contractors Association, Young Black Contractors, Black American Political Association of California, and women of the NAACP, the 1619 Reparations Party, Americans for Social Justice. And you want to get that some praise by Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. You can Google it. Really do appreciate that. And then, Todd, we always talked about sports and politics of Reparations Reader. And I saw it last night with Miami and Denver, where Miami was told by the Denver Nuggets, you be chicken nuggets to think that we're not going to come out and take game 3. And he told them like Ben Willis, when Bruce Willis he was told by Ben Rames in Pulp Fiction, he said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. Say that butt. So Bruce Willis said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. And he told him, that stinky sensation you feeling? Well, that's just pride fucking with you. And Ben Rames said it the way only Ben Rames could say it. He said, fuck pride. And that's what Jamal Murray and the Joker told Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Buckets last night. That game was right for the taking, but obviously Miami's they're missing 2 of their sharpshooters. Las Vegas probably knew something about that. All's fair and level were. Really do appreciate a lot of great things. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years. Very smart, erudite. She scored 6 goals in 1 game. It was like, Daisy, goal, 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 goal. And she's right-footed, so she's ambidextrous. 6 goals in 1 soccer game. She also set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back at Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. But as it would be, some good old boys said if 2 N-words can do it, we can bring in some insurrectionists. You know, some of Andrew Johnson's young boys. And they started shenanigans, and the show went away. I'm still standing. They're having layoffs. I just give God praise, because God has opened so many doors. And as I ask God for what I want now, the more those doors are open. They already are open. I had an older man prophesy over me last night. He said, you're almost there. You say you're almost there. You got everything it takes. You just got to have more faith. You got to have more faith the size of the grain of a mustard seed. Here's a former United States Air Force, and he was a gunner in the Air Force. And he told me that he was captured and he was tortured. When he was captured, he was 210 pounds. By the time he got rescued, he was 90 pounds. They were starving him and beating him. I said, what kept you alive? Beautiful black man, intelligent, erudite. He said God, and he gave God praise. That same God that we all ask for when we ask for favor. And really do appreciate that. At the same time, just a good man. And I really do appreciate so many things. My daughter, just beautiful, loving. Daisy, you can be anything you want to be. I pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. And, you know, that man told me last night that through his own life growing up, as successful as he is now, he faced a lot of opposition from white people. Not everyone, but people like Senator Mitch McConnell. You know, the bigots, the crooked people that will rob you and your family and still say, oh, we don't believe ways to play reparations for something that we stole 150 years ago. Sitting on blood money. Yep, sitting on blood money. How did God let him rise to power? It's a shame. And then Dr. King's gone. Doesn't make any sense. Really appreciate your days. You can be anything you want to be. Just always go forward. And don't ever be the lone wolf. Make sure that people look like you in your environment. If not, people are trying to set you up. They would never be the minority in an environment of people who look like you. And I learned that again from a 90-year-old man, beautiful black man. Always be mindful of that. The enemy come but to kill, steal, and destroy. And they do it through division first. Isaiah 54:17. God has you blessed and highly favored. Always go forward. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, very smart. I pray Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against him will prosper. Always, always, always trust God. Always trust God. No matter what happens in life, you can be anything you want to be. You're very bright, very smart, and I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get trees, or newspapers, to look up stats for players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. And now I'm on 27 podcast platforms and 4 TV platforms, and soon to be 5. There's so many things that God has done for me. Malcolm one day said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? And I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. And you'll see your show come up. And now you can find it on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. And I want to give you praise for that. You've spoken into existence. Always do that. God's listening. Sometimes the good word may delay, but he never denies. Always trust God, son. And then, my beautiful son, I love you with all of my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-granddaddy, coming out of that barn with his church buddies, always saying, you gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. So let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. As the nominated Big C Sports Podcast, I have no scripts, I have no three-way teleprompters, I have no producer in my ear. All I got is my word in my balls, like the Satan Scarface. And those things I don't compromise. I love Scarface, that movie. They cannot make a Scarface Part 2. Too many things happen in it. You know, tonight we have Game 3 of the NHL. You have the Las Vegas Golden Knights that are in Las Vegas, and they're making noise. And you have the Florida Panthers. They're now in Florida tonight, but the Golden Knights take a 2-0 lead. The game's already underway. The Florida Panthers are at home tonight facing a 2-0 series deficit in the Lord Stanley's Cup final following a tough 7-2 blowout loss to the Las Vegas Golden Knights at T-Mobile Arena, and that was on Monday. But after already having clawed their way back from a 3-1 series deficit against the President's Trophy winning Boston Bruins in round 1, the Panthers certainly are not afraid of some adversity, unlike the Governor DeSantis is afraid of diversity. Is never over, the Panthers forward Anton Lundell said confidently after the loss. They saw that against Boston, and they still believe they're down 2-0 in the series, but it's not over. And they gotta get out to an early start against Las Vegas. They've been beating them up like Mike Tyson knocking down Frazier, and they gotta get up off the ground. They gotta get up off the ground, and off the ice. They gotta get up, and they can't keep trying to come from behind, because Las Vegas, they poured on you, and they're in it to win it, and they probably are the better team. It'd be a shame if the Miami Heat and the Las Vegas or the Florida Panthers lose in the NBA Finals and the Lord Stanley's Cup. But Florida might just get knocked out based on that. But we will see. The best team will win, and that's just the way it goes in love and war, if that makes sense to you. But speaking of Las Vegas, I was talking to some good old boys about the Oakland A's, and they're trying to get into Las Vegas, and the stadium bill is stalled in Nevada legislature, and they're trying to figure out how to make it go through. But Las Vegas doesn't want the Oakland A's. I think about the Raiders when they left Oakland. The first time they left Oakland, they went to Los Angeles. Then they came back from Los Angeles to Oakland, and then Al Davis built Mount Davis. He had a guy that did his right-hand man was Al Locasell. And Al Locasell, he was a small man, but he was given the green light by Al Davis to do whatever he needed done. And so the Raiders finally left, and they went to Las Vegas. So the Oakland A's said, well, wait a minute. If they can leave the Coliseum, maybe we can leave the Coliseum. But obviously, the Oakland Athletics, their relocation effort dealt a significant setback, and who knows what's happened by the end of today. But when lawmakers in Nevada failed to take action on a bill that would have provided $380 million in public funding for a $1.5 billion stadium on the Strip. Now, Las Vegas is having problems with homelessness because people they lose their money in the casinos. They're having problems with funding their elementary schools. They have a problem with feeding people who are in need. They're having a problem with it. So, State Bill 509, which faced significant opposition in a very limited period for public input, did not even advance out of the committee before the state's legislative session expired at midnight. And there's still hopes that they can do something to get Major League Baseball in Nevada. But what would Nevada look like trying to help a team who made their own promises to Oakland and they're leaving Oakland? Instead of working out a way to stay in Oakland and keep people in the East Bay employed. Oakland and the East Bay has a bigger population than Las Vegas, and you got the number 4 media market in the Bay Area. So the franchise hopes catching Las Vegas' eye in the near term. They're still alive, and that's by Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo, who's in favor of accommodating the A's. In a statement on Tuesday, he said has to call a special legislative session during which the bill could be revived. But I'm telling you, if they're going to give $1 billion to the Oakland A's, and they got people starving in Las Vegas, homelessness in Las Vegas, having people that can't get health care in Las Vegas, elementary schools having a problem being properly funded, why are they going to invest money into a baseball franchise that's really not good anymore? So the A's right now, they seem to be stuck in Oakland, and you would think if you're Las Vegas, you don't even want to pay attention to the people you're already with. Why would we trust you? That's like a man and a woman that are married and they're in a relationship with somebody else on the side, and then they leave their marriage to go hook up with somebody while they're still married. Why would that person want to marry you? You already showed that you don't have commitment. And that's what the A's are doing. They're already in bed in Oakland. They're already in bed in Dimdale Hills, California. So why would Las Vegas welcome the mistress into their wedding? What are you going to trust about it? You saw the character when they were sneaking out. Now maybe they had an open relationship. That's fine too. But if it was open, why would you leave Oakland stuck and the people that relied on the Oakland A's for money, for jobs, for income? Now, in fairness, gentrifications happen every place in this country. The Coliseum, where it sits right now, is not in the best of neighborhoods anymore, like it was back in the 60s and 70s when they built it. A lot of industry is left. And so I can understand why they want to be in an environment where when you walk out of the stadium, you can walk over to a restaurant the way they've done McCovey Cove in San Francisco. Two different worlds. You got to get in your car and drive somewhere to get something to eat. So they were proposing downtown, closer to Jack London Square, where people tend to congregate more, and build a stadium in the East Bay. It would keep the East Bay area, the baseball workers employed, whether it's transit, whether it's some of the people that they have the vendors that come to the games. But you got to put a better product on the field. The Oakland A's, and maybe Las Vegas is stupid. They're going to turn their back on the homeless problem in Las Vegas. They're going to turn their back on the people, the elementary schools that are not properly funded. They're going to turn their back on the people that live there to get fleeced by a billionaire coming into Las Vegas. For what? They're not even a good team. They don't even win in Oakland. And you're going to bring that into Las Vegas? And then maybe they will. But they're going to take money that's needed for people who are the residents of that city and state and give it to a billionaire owner to come into Las Vegas, and they're leaving Oakland stranded. Why would you leave? Why would you give them money? Why would you invest in them? Make them bring their own money. They're billionaires. That's my thinking. They should stay in Northern California and work things out in the Bay Area, and I'm going to give that some praise. Because even if Senate Bill 509 was taken up and approved, there still remain significant political hurdles at the state and county levels. The club had already pushed back its target opening date by a year to 2028 because their projected stadium site is currently occupied by Tropicana's Las Vegas, which would need to be demolished. There's a lot of moving parts. This time, 6 years after approving $750 million for the Oakland Raiders relocation from Oakland state lawmakers, they were set to cool it off. They've given the Raiders a lot to come there. The Raiders have been a hit, but they only got to sell out 8 days a year, minus preseason. They got 8 regular season home games. If you count in 2 preseason games, you can't guarantee they're a playoff team, even though they made it 2 years ago and went to Cincinnati and lost. But you're saying roughly 10 weeks out of the year, you're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders with that Allegiant Stadium packed. And, of course, they can use it for other events throughout the year. But for the Raiders, they paid them $750 million to come, and they built a $2 billion stadium for them. Now, that may pan out because the Raiders are a worldwide brand. But it's going to take time to recoup the money. But who's going to go from Oakland or even California to watch the A's play 81 games a year? And that's not including preseason. And if they were to skip the playoffs, and if they put up that money, they're going to turn their back on the homelessness in Las Vegas that they don't like to show, but it's there. And the lack of school funding for public schools, that's there. Lack of health care programs for public schools, that's there. And people having problem eating, that's there. Plus, there's a water shortage in Las Vegas, too. Don't be fooled by the drought being over in California. They still have problems. So Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, he gave the club January 2024 a deadline to strike a deal. Oakland, Las Vegas, wherever it could be cut out of the league's revenue sharing plan, while the city of Oakland and team made significant inroads to approve a complicated deal at Howard Terminal. The looming deadline likely spurred the Fisher to pivot and panic, some might say, harder toward Las Vegas, where abundant sites and friendlier politicians awaited, but they're not being so friendly now. Even under the most favorable conditions, Fisher failed an ad hoc nature of the A's planning that they first reached a binding agreement to build an entertainment district on another site before switching to the Tropicana project. And they put out some drawings that look like a dome stadium, obviously, when it's 105 degrees in the summertime. But what will Major League Baseball think now? I remember in Sacramento, it was Mayor Kevin Johnson that he led the charge to get David Stern to keep the Kings in Sacramento. They've been at Arco Arena out by the airport, and now they've moved downtown the last several years. It was Kevin Johnson, former NBA great Kevin Johnson, that made that happen, the mayor of Sacramento at that time. And now they built a stadium downtown, and it might be the most beautiful NBA stadium in the league. We definitely have the best home fans, at least when they're winning, because it's revitalized downtown in the capital city, and they were going to head out of town. I think the Maloofs were not going to be able to keep the team, so Vivek Ranadive came in with his partners, and they were able to keep the team in the capital city. And I think it's 38 years now that they've been here. I think they came in 84 or something like that. So what will Major League Baseball think now? Because David Stern worked with the mayor of Sacramento to keep the Kings in town. Now, what will happen in Oakland? Why is Manfred just allowing them to flee Oakland when the East Bay's had the Oakland A's there since the 1960s? So Commissioner Rob Manfred, maybe they should let the Boston Red Sox go to Las Vegas. How about the New York Yankees go to Las Vegas? Commissioner Rob Manfred has certainly stuck his neck out for Fisher. After all, it's his job to answer the 30 owners, from poor-mouthing the Coliseum site to waiving a relocation fee and a willingness to vote quickly on relocation, Maverick has pursued what I consider an inside dirty work for Fisher, like Al Ocasel did for Al Davis. But Maverick's the commissioner. Al Ocasel was the right-hand man for Al Davis. He was not the commissioner of the NFL. When the Golden State Warriors moved from Oakland to San Francisco, they came in San Francisco from Philadelphia back in the day, and then they went over to the Coliseum, and now they went back after about 50 years, and they're playing in San Francisco. They're still in the Bay Area. When the 49ers left Kezar Stadium over by Golden Gate Park, they didn't leave out of state. They moved to Candlestick Park at Hunters Point. And then after being there for about 5 decades, they moved down to the peninsula in Santa Clara, where their home office is anyway. They did not leave the Bay Area. Even though there were talks of doing it, they didn't leave. Even the Giants were supposedly on their way to Florida. But Major League Baseball stepped in, and they made them work together. And they have the most beautiful baseball park in the Major League. Now Oracle Stadium, right there on McCovey Cove, right south of the Bay Bridge, and just off of downtown San Francisco. It's beautiful. It could have been gone. Well, Oakland has the same opportunity to do a similar thing. They could, with the help of the city, they could build a new ballpark and make it possible for the Oakland A's to stay in the East Bay, in the Bay Area. There's even talk of maybe them relocating to Sacramento, about 80 miles to the north. That's not necessary, in my opinion. They have a great place right now, but it's going to take some effort by the city to keep them. Give keeping people some praise. Everything doesn't have to be, let's leave for Las Vegas, a gambling town. Filling up a football stadium 8 to 10 days a year is easier than filling up a baseball stadium 81 days out of the year. If you're at a sports book in Las Vegas, do you want to watch all the games that are playing that day, or just sit up and watch the A's play? Which I think they're in last place right now. But it's just about, what will Manfred do? How about work with the city of Oakland and give it a try? Give it a try with the people that the powers that be in Oakland. You have a beautiful weather in Oakland in the East Bay. It's right near the San Francisco-Oakland Bay. There's more money in the Bay Area than there is in Las Vegas. With Silicon Valley. I mean, outside of the gaming industry, Las Vegas doesn't have high wages. They get a lot of tips. But they've been in Oakland, and they should stay in Oakland. If you're going to be the commissioner, maybe they cut you a deal to make it easier to leave. But what if the Boston Red Sox go to Las Vegas instead? How about the Philadelphia Phillies move to Las Vegas? How about the New York Yankees move to Las Vegas? Why you want to rob Oakland? You should be helping stabilize Oakland, because they've been there with all the championships over the years and some of the best baseball teams in baseball back in the 70s. You would think the commissioner would do what David Stern did. Give the home team a chance to keep their team. Maybe build another stadium in a part of town where it's friendlier for people to come get a bite to eat before and after a game. That would be up near Jack London Square. They could keep it on the water somewhere. What the Giants did in San Francisco. They already have the example right across the bay. Sitting on the dock of the bay. Well, that's my story. And I'm sticking with it. I know people do what they want to do. And everybody has money talks and BS walks. So the club's lease extends through 2024 in Oakland. And Oakland has to step up to the plate. And this time, Oakland is to say runners on first and third. They count for the pitch. Curveball, slug on it, hit deep. Right field, back to the wall. Home run. Say hello to my little friends. And Oakland needs to say the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep, but hit deep at the Coliseum, even if it's a new Coliseum. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it, and you can get that some praise. As I always say, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because some mothers against drunk drivers are mad and some fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. Call Uber, call Lyft. You can walk, you can sleep it off. Call a friend, but don't drink and drive. The life you save may be your own, if that makes sense to you. As I always say, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And all the big C burgers that I eat make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. As I'm going to do to honor President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. In words of the great Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. In words to honor the great President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. Have a super fantastic